What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Played Out Podcast, a competitive-focused Age of Sigmar podcast. My name is Kyle, aka Creatigator, and I'm here with prepper number one, James. James, how are you doing?
Good. How are you, brother?
I'm prepping, dude.
I'm
prepping.
He's prepped.
I'm prepped. Well, not prepped yet, but I'm going to get prepped. And we're going to tell you guys how you can also get prepped for Age of Sigmar 4th release, because it's coming.
It's soon.
It's big soon. It's what is today? Today is
It's moderate soon.
Moderate. It's soon. TM. It's Tuesday, July 2nd. Currently, the release schedule is slated for Monday the 8th. We're gonna get our stuff, and it's gonna start rolling out, and we're gonna do a faction focus after that, every day after that, with the final release being on what they say. Saturday? 12th. No, yeah, Friday the 12th.
Friday the 12th.
That's right.
Because that's when boxes go out, baby.
Well, that's when the boxes can officially be given to the people. So we'll see.
We the boxes. I love
the boxes. We the people who are super excited for those boxes. Mm-hmm. So what is today's episode going to be about? Because we have a lot to talk about. We honestly have too much to talk about. So we're going to kind of ring it in a little bit.
We took a little hiatus, fam. We've been doing
a big
work and vacation and
crazy
weddings.
amount of work, crazy amount of family. Holidays are coming up. I'm glad that they're releasing it like near a holiday because it's kind of nice, but it's also I'm going on vacation around this time, so I'm going to be hanging out with family and friends, but also a lot of looking at my phone and being like, what do my models do now?
reading lots of PDFs.
Oh my gosh, so many PDFs. It's going to be kind of crazy. So we're going to, because we don't have the PDFs, there's been a lot of leaks, obviously, and there's going to be more leaks.
Oh, yeah.
But we don't have them physically, everything in all, and we don't want to talk about just a little leak here, the little leak there, because it's all going to be out soon.
I need my cup to be full of leaks before I speak.
My cup overfulleth with the leaks.
Yeah, to do.
So we're going to tell you guys our thought process when it comes to how we're going to go through this insane amount of PDFs. It's going to be hundreds of pages of PDFs.
Yep.
You're going to be drinking through a fire hose. You're going to be going insane. Your phone is going to be full of storage with all these PDFs that you're going to be sitting there cross-referencing the entire time. So we're going to talk about how we're going to go through that and process all that information and start building lists so we can start playing.
Oh, yeah.
For a short pit stop, we went to the Atlantic City Open hosted by Frontline Gaming.
Let's go.
And we got to play, how many games did we play? Five.
Yes.
We played
which is
five
the prime amount of games for like a 2-day tournament.
True.
3 and 2.
Yep.
I don't want to play 3 games the second day. I'm tired.
I'm tired. I want to use all my brain on the first day and then a little bit of my brain on the second day.
I'll play Nexus Collapse and Lines of Communication the first day. I'm not playing that the second day.
Did you see that? What's it called? Did you see that the Meltwater mission is back? I'm quitting. I'm leaving. Limited Resources is in the pack, and hopefully it's not one of the ones that anybody picks. Don't pick it. There are better ones.
It make brain hurt.
Don't pick Limited Resources. So, James, do you want to talk to me about your ACO experience? This is the first time you went to Atlantic City Open.
Yeah, I know. I live very close to Atlantic City Open, but I haven't been. I've visited, but I haven't participated in once. Yeah. And I was happy to do it this year. It was a lot of fun. And like the vibe of ACO is very fun, even though it's like very much like the close of an edition. You know what I mean? Like everybody's kind of like in sandals hanging out. Like there's still a lot of competitive games. And there's a lot, the acumen of the people that were there were high. You know what I mean? Yeah. We had some of the best players in the world at ACO. You know what I mean? And what's it called? I actually ended up, I played a couple, I won 3, lost 2. Mm-hmm. So, but like the games I lost were to the guy that won the tournament. And I can't remember the other game I lost against Iron Jaws, which I just don't play well against. And in both of those games, I scored pretty well. So I wasn't super upset about my showing. And I ended up getting 15th, which was pretty sick.
Yeah. And it was like a 60-person tournament.
Yeah.
So like 15th out of 60 is pretty freaking good.
Yeah. Especially when like you have like number 1, number 5, number 3, like in the world at that tournament. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it was, I don't think there was a game where I got less than 17 points. I think I had one game where I was like below 20. So like, even though I get tabled, I would score, you know?
Yeah.
So, but it was a lot of fun. The vibes were high. You know what I mean? What's it called? I saw a lot of destruction. I played ogres. I played iron jaws. I played
Gargants.
Yeah, heavy on the destruction. But listen, destruction ogre. Mike Bicurio is the guy that won. He's amazing. Very fun list. He plays monster trucks, but he's a very like. It was the strangest game of monster trucks I've ever played because it was very like, oh, we're gonna dance around each other. Like no models died until turn 3. Turn 3 is the first model that died.
That's insane.
Yeah, it was nuts. And then we just like full hammed in the center, you know? But yeah, it was like super, super fun tournament. Loved the experience. Definitely recommend if anyone's in like the greater Jersey, PA, New York area, you know what I mean? Like definitely make the trek up. It's a lot of fun. And it's definitely a lot closer than the Cherokee Open.
You mean you don't want to drive 11 hours, play 5 games, and then drive 11 hours back? You'd rather just make like a 50-minute drive and be there.
Yeah, and just vibe and chill and eat pizza with my boy.
Oh, that was really good pizza.
It was really good pizza. But yeah, overall, really fun. What do you think, Kyle? What are your thoughts?
It was great. Like I've been to ACO. I think 2021 was my first year going, so I've been going for 3 years now, and like the vibes are always great there. Like everyone's just super enthusiastic. Everyone's hanging out, and like I feel that it's had a great impact on me as far as the Age of Sigmar community, because 40K obviously still it's the bigger game. They have more people playing 40K at ACO, just like they do every other tournament, right? That has both. But the 40K crowd is a lot more like, I don't know, they're fun, but they're serious.
Yeah.
Right? And I feel like Age of Sigmar players have a great ability to be serious while also being fun.
Yeah.
And like, I think that vibe is captured best at ACO because it's kind of like it's at a casino, it's on the Jersey Shore, everyone's like buying each other drinks,
drinks
having
are flowing. Yeah, it's great. Yeah,
it's a great time. Like people know how to play while being serious and not like being mingy about it, which is dope.
Yeah, like it's definitely competitive games. Like
oh yeah,
the games are very competitive. People are playing to win, but it's very like amicable. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like every game I lost, I had a fun time. You know what I mean? I lost to like the guy that owns Palladium, who's great. Mike's great. And I lost the guy that won. And both those games, I had a ton of fun playing because it's like, even when I'm playing from behind, like I still have a game. You know what I mean? Like I never got like completely stomped. Yeah. So it was fun.
Yeah. And I think we're going to see like even more with that, with the like catch up mechanics and stuff. Like you can like physically be tabled by turn 2 in Age of Sigmar 3, you know what I mean? But like it can be kind of rare unless they have like a list that does that and you position poorly. And I think 4th is going to like encourage those close games even more.
Yeah.
So I'm super excited about that. Speaking of 4th, it's coming soon.
It's coming
soon. I think like, so the box comes out
next Friday
at midnight. Yeah. So it's like a Friday midnight release. James and I are going to a Friday midnight release for the box at our friendly local game store called the Wargamers Guild near Trenton, New Jersey. If you guys haven't heard of it, you guys should check it out.
Yeah, we'll be there. So if you guys are around that area, feel free to stop by, come hang out. You know,
it's gonna be a good time because like everything is gonna be out by that point, and we'll get to just sit down and talk about it. And we're gonna be probably playing some games. We're gonna be probably playing some Spearhead.
Yeah,
and we maybe opening boxes, looking at stuff. So it's gonna be a good time. So let's look at that release schedule that they're going to give us. So Monday, July 8th, they give us the key rules and battle profiles. And I've been told that the battle profiles are the points, which is kind of weird that the points are going to come out first. But if that's true, love it. 10 out of 10.
We can start making lists on Monday.
Let's go. Yeah. Yep. Tuesday, we're going to get all of the order faction packs, which is 9 of them. So yeah, a lot of it. There's going to be a lot of information on Tuesday.
Kyle's eating.
I'm eating good. Gonna look at my dinosaurs, gonna look at my Stormcast. We're gonna see how things are going. Wednesday is Chaos, so we got the 6 Chaos factions. I'm also eating good because I did have a bit of a come to Jesus moment with Nurgle, and my Blight King comes today. Or my not my Blight King, sorry. I've already built my Blight Kings. My Glot King comes today, and I'm super excited about it. Thursday, the July 11th, we get Death. Friday 12th is Destruction. I'm sorry. Rest in Pepperidge's Destruction players that have to wait that long. I promise you won't actually have to wait that long, I'm sure. And then Monday, July 15th, is the Regiment Renown Legends and Rosters. And that is going to be like the
Trog Herd, like all like the individual like
Dragonless, Sacrosanct, Stormcast.
Never forget
Beasts of Chaos, and then the Bone Splitter Orc. So like they have to wait a little bit longer than everybody else. We're also
wasn't bad enough.
Get wrecked. Wait longer. Oh, they're just giving them time to prep their stuff to move it to Old World.
Yeah. I hope you guys like Old World.
Mm-hmm. And then I believe 15th is also the debut of the app, which, if you don't know, the Age of Sigmar app has been kicking for a while, and we've enjoyed it a lot. It's going to be changing. It's going to look a lot more like the 40K app, which I have thoughts about. But whatever. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to do the thing that I want it to do, which is show me all the war scrolls, and like at the start, show me all everybody else's rolls.
Yeah.
So whatever. It's fine. If you guys don't know how the 40K app works and how the Age of Sigmar app is now going to work, you're going to have to pay for Warhammer Plus in order to build more than one list.
Boo.
Once the codexes start coming out, you're going to have to pay, or once the battle tomes start coming out, you're going to have to pay for the battle tome to unlock all of your faction rules. I believe the war scrolls are still going to be free, and then the spearhead stuff is going to be free inside of it forever and for always. So it's going to be similar. Like, I bought the Gargant book way after it came out, specifically because I wanted the code to unlock all the stuff in my app so I could just play around with it. I just don't. Nobody likes the Warhammer Plus have to pay to build bazillion lists.
Yep.
So
nobody subscribes to Warhammer Plus. Crazy.
I know. It's crazy. It's almost like
a bad app. It's almost like
it's like a subpar service compared to what you can get for that amount monthly. But yeah, so that's the release schedule. We're super excited about it. A little bit of an asterisk. Thursday is when all of the stuff, including the card packs, hits the stores. So that means this Thursday, by the way. So that means that if one person in that store decides that they want to post some stuff online and not really care about what happens, we're going to know some stuff by the weekend. So when they give us the points on Monday, we might know everything we need to know.
Be kind of hot.
That's all I'm saying.
Just saying it would be kind of cool if you did that. I'm not telling you to do it. Maybe I'm not telling you to do it, but it'd be kind of cool.
I mean, Destruction players would love you.
It'd be sick.
You know? They'd beat their chests and be all happy about it if they could actually see their profiles before literally the night of the launch. James would be happy. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm going to a launch party, and I would like to know. I would build a list beforehand if I could.
Yeah. What models should I bring?
The answer: all of them.
True. So when we get this massive amount of PDFs, and we're going to be doing a lot of coverage over it. We're not going to be quick on the faction focuses. It's because, again, we're two adults, unfortunately, and we work. But we will be covering ideally each faction for a podcast further down the line, just to understand what's going on, probably prioritizing things that inevitably are good at the launch of the edition. So we'll end the stuff that is our pocket pick favorites. You know what I mean? As we understand the rules, as we get some games under our belt, we'll start talking about all of the stuff that's kind of out in the wild and things that people should know. So, when you get your first information, James, when you are given that PDF that is like, this is the Gloomspite gets PDF with the points and has everything in it, what is the first thing that you're going to look for?
As a veteran player, I kind of look. I'm not going to say I'm a veteran player. I think that's very pretentious. I'm like a journeyman player. You know what I mean? I feel like that's like the middle level, like the journeyman player. Yeah. Someone who enjoys. I go to big tournaments. I enjoy the competitive. This is a competitive podcast. We talk about it every goddamn day. The first thing I'm going to do is I want to see, what I would recommend people to do is go look at the models that you have, right? Maybe the list that you've already built, things you have painted up, you know what I mean? Like, and basically go look at the points and see if you still like the rules. You know what I mean? Like, go to the individual war scrolls and be like, okay, do I like these rules? Like, okay, cool. Like, it's like I'm going to tier them out. You know what I mean? Like, oh, this is kind of dog water now. This got much better. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then it's like you go from there, and then like I first pick out my power pieces, right? Like it's like my 2 units of 6 rock guts. The first thing I'm putting on my list. You know what I mean? Like those are definitely making it in. I own a lot of points of trolls. They're going to go in the list. You know what I mean? Yep. The next thing I'm going to look at is like my like points, right? So it's like, because as soon as I put those big hitter / anvil, like whatever is important to you, right? Like if you're building a list that lasts and your anvils are going to be your most important kind of pusher, put the anvils in first. If you're like, you know, if you're like just going for like a full aggro list, like an Iron Jaws player or something like that, and you want to put your hammers in, like your Maw Crushes and your Gore Gruntas or whatever, you put them in first, put those in first. You know what I mean? And then see what you have to play with after that, right? Because I know that like there's going to be some playing of points. So it's like what maybe once cost 1,200 points now costs 1,450. You know what I mean? So you don't have as many points for heroes and like other things. But I definitely think like your core mechanic and the core of a list is your power piece, right? Like your strategy, the piece that will define your strategy, right? Yep. Put that in the list first. And then you're like, okay, secondarily, right? You're like, how do I make this piece better? You know what I mean? Like, how do I make this piece do what it needs to do in the best way possible, right? That's when you're adding in heroes for buffs. You're adding in, you know, if you need like blood tithe points, you're adding in chaff to sacrifice, like whatever you need to basically make your combos go off. You know what I mean? You put that in next. The last thing that goes in the list are some potential short, like things that cover your shortfalls. You know what I mean? Or chaff, you know? So, or both. Like sometimes it covers both. Like my issue is I have a lot of points in 2 gigantic units, and then I don't have a lot to kind of like run around the board. So it's like I used to do a lot of MSU where I'd have like Spider Riders or Point Drop Bounders or whatever, like to basically go out and touch stuff that I can't get to, or go touch a point or screen for me or do whatever. Like now it's like, oh, like I don't know how many points I'm going to have left over. So I really got to look at my heroes and I got to look at my chaff and see what I need to bring with my power piece. You know, that's how I fill my shopping cart. What's your process, Kyle?
It's definitely pretty similar. It's grab the thing that you like the most that's going to do the thing that is going to make your list function. Yeah. And then I take a look at the secondaries. So like John Madden said, the person who scores the most points usually wins games. And how do you score a lot of points? Secondaries. Yeah. So I always have the secondaries in the back of my mind when I'm building my list, trying to understand of, okay, these are where they are. This is how they're going to drop when I place them on the board so that they're in range to potentially score me these tactics. So I have options on turn 1. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You have options for a turn 1 battle tactic.
Exactly. Battle tactics are going to change wildly in this edition. And I think as people understand how much countercharge, redeploy, shooting in the other person's shooting phase, like that is going to very much define how battle tactics are done.
And counterplay.
And there's so much counterplay. So it's going to be a lot. It's not just a fixed thing. If I move a piece and I'm done, I got it. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's always the risk that they could countercharge into it, deny you your battle tactic. They could shoot your thing, deny your battle tactic. You know what I mean? Like, but that being said, you should be thinking of that in list creation. The worst thing that you can do is look at all of the information and say, oh, I built the list that does the most damage. And then you just don't score any battle tactics. Yeah. You might be able to table your opponent, you know what I mean? But like, it's much worse in previous GHBs where like you needed to bring like a Galatian veteran to get this battle tactic, or hey, if you don't have a wizard, you're not getting magical dominance. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think a lot of that is less. You can probably do a lot more with the units that you're bringing regardless, but consider those battle tactics when you start putting things in those buckets.
Yeah. Like you need stuff to be able to go touch board edges, you know, and like run to the center and like not just get wiped, you know, because that's true. Like if I run, you know, a 10 wound unit that has a really bad save off to the board edge, but I'm within range of shooting distance, like I might not get my battle tactic, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. If I like drop birds somewhere and they have, you know, for example, a unit of long strikes or something, and they shoot, you know what I mean? They shoot my birds because they have no save and are 6 wounds.
Yeah. Or they countercharge them. Like it's
and they countercharge them, or you know, there's so much stuff that the enemy can do now. It's going to be very interesting getting those battle tactics, but you got to kind of start from I'm bringing things that can do battle tactics when I make the list. I have a thought that basically, if you are building your list to do battle tactics and you're pre-thinking of how your list is going to do these battle tactics, you're going to beat most people who aren't building their list to do battle tactics, if that makes sense, because you're just going to score more points than they are. And then the other thing is, like, obviously the primary, like, everyone can sit on objectives because, you know, eventually you'll just sit on the objectives, right? But there's going to be a lot of, like, how do I push someone off an objective?
Yeah, or the moving objectives or something, you know what I mean? Like, there's going to be a lot of dynamic objectives, I think, in this coming edition.
Yeah, and, like, things to definitely think about when we're going to start talking about how we look at the unit is movement and thinking about where you're going to put it when you put it on the board, because if you only have, let's say, 4 inches of move, right, and you put it on the board, 4 times 5 is 20, plus, you know, 4d6 if you're running, you know, that's
it. Minus a charge, you know?
Yeah. There's, like, other things like redeploy and charges and run and teleports that you can do, but just from a raw standpoint, if you're just running across the battlefield, you can only get so far. You're not running from, like, the short edge to the short edge. You're not crossing that whole 60 inches.
Your feet can only take you so far.
Exactly. So that kind of that's definitely what I think about when I think about list construction. What about units? So a big thing is you're going to go through and you're going to look through all your hero traits. You're going to look through all your battle traits. And then you're going to start looking at all those war scrolls, right? What are you looking for on the war scroll? And what are you looking for the war scroll? And considering the points that we'll probably have them, what is going to stand out and says this is a great unit or this is a dog water unit?
Yeah. I mean, we've talked about this before on the podcast, and I know we talk about this a lot, but I know that wards are, like, immediate value. You know what I mean? It's just raw value. Like, a 14 wound unit with a ward and a 14 wound unit without a ward is, like, you know, night and day when you're, like, looking at, like, how to get it fitted into a list. Another thing is rend, because, like, rend has kind of been, like, squashed in this edition. So it's like 2 rend is nothing to joke at anymore, you know? In addition, like, I don't think people are going to be using all out defense as much as they were, you know?
No.
So it's, you know, rend is important. And I think that, like, conditional damage is something I've seen a lot of, which kind of gives me the ick, if I'm being completely real.
100%.
Like, because it's one of those things that it's really easy when you're doing your damage calculation. You're like, oh, in this situation where I get exactly where I need to be, and, like, there's exactly this many dudes in the unit or whatever it is, I can get to 3 instead of doing 2. And you're like, well, it's really 2. You know what I mean? Like, you really have to treat, like, if your damage profile is 2, 3 conditionally, it's 2. Because, like, a lot of times you have, you know, half the control of if you're going to get in that situation. Even optimally, because sometimes, like, your opponent will make a play where it's like, oh, you really want to be in this position where you're hitting this gigantic unit of infantry, but if I put my guys out there that far, I'm kind of putting them out there in the wind to get killed, you know? So it's one of those things that I definitely think wards add value is my number one. And then I would say, like, rend are the 2 biggest, you know.
Crazy that you like trogs.
They've got both.
Yeah.
They also have saves.
That was probably, like, it, as far as, like, hype for your edition. I think that was, like, the peak when you saw the war scroll for the trogs. And even though it was a spearhead, you saw the health went up. They maintained their 5-up ward, and they maintained their 2 rend.
2 rend.
2 rend. So you're like, that's all I need.
That's cool. Those are all the things I wanted, and also more, because now they have more health.
Like, they got more health, which is crazy. And their control, that's something to mention when we're looking at all the things, is control score. Yeah, right?
Their control went up from 1 to 2, which is crazy.
Something that I think people should look at if they run monster lists is go look at the control score of those monsters, because a lot of the control score has changed, and unless I've missed something, I think a lot of our big units, like your spiders and my stegodons that used to just have 10, I think that's different now. I think it's going to be a different mechanic where it's just going to add something onto the control score if, you know, they meet a certain criteria.
Yeah, or if they're over a certain wound characteristic or something like that. Yeah.
Gargants are 20, then they bracket down to 10 at half. So that's important to think about. Yeah. We've seen this, leaks of Storm Drake. They maintain their 5. Which is going to be insane because a lot of monsters, like I think was Nagash 10.
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of like god monsters are 10.
Yeah.
I think Kragnos was big.
Yeah, he's big, but he's not as big as he was because before he was like 40 or something. Like it was crazy.
Insane. Yeah.
Yeah.
And same thing I think with Gargants. But the core is go look at your control scores because it might matter for your bigger guys because those probably changed.
Yeah, like my spiders, the only thing they did well was hold points, and now I'm kind of like, you guys don't really hold points as well as the Trogs do anymore.
I mean, they're gonna hold points great because you won't be able to. Because they won't be able to touch your objective. You'll be on top of it the entire time.
That's true because I can sit on
it. And honestly, that's insane because even if they kill the thing, if they don't have a after fight move, they can't move on to it.
Yeah. I still own that, baby.
I still own it.
Yeah.
Which is, I think that's going to be, that's something to think about because we predicted this way back when. We thought it was going to be like 40K where that 40 millimeter disc, you couldn't stand on it. You can. 130 millimeter base, 160 millimeter base, you can just plop it on right on top of it, direct center, and even if you kill that base, it's still going to be under your big
I don't
base
think it can
control.
Hold. I don't think 160 can hold the whole thing because 160 is less than 6 inches.
Are you sure about that?
I'm 100% sure about that because my bases are 160.
What? No way. Hold on. 160 millimeter, 2 inches. It's 6.2. Fair. 6.2. So you're right. I don't know. I'll do the math later.
I'm
but
pretty
it's
sure it's 25 millimeter per. How many boys do math? Boys do math. How many?
Live reaction of boys doing math. 160 is 6.2. I mean, it still wouldn't be enough because it's 6 inches plus 40 millimeters, which is like 7 point something.
With the dog? What the dog doing?
What the dog doing? But yeah, control score is something that you should probably go and check your stuff. Yeah. If you had a very hey, I own this objective regardless of XYZ, that's something that's probably going to change. I don't know how much control score is going to matter in the long run of it because there's going to be a lot of fighting over those objectives. So I think
there's going to be a lot of death.
It's going to be a lot of your control score doesn't matter because you died.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely looking through specifically Stormcast and Nurgle. I'm going to be looking for damage because I think something that my list struggled with that I took to OCO and I've taken to Cherokee and a bunch of other places was I don't have enough damage. My damage came from long strikes and my damage came from dragons. And although those things do damage, I think I was using them for other things as well. Yeah. So the first thing I'm going to look through is I'm going to look at how much damage we do in. So our target damage that we should be gunning for is roughly 35 health with a 3-up save. That is a Gargant with all defense. So if they have 4 Gargants, ideally, maybe not on turn 1, but maybe on turn 2, 3, 4, and 5, you want to be killing a Gargant a turn. So your army should at least be able to all focus in, including spells, including melee, including shooting, should be able to clear that threshold of damage. And that's probably the amount of damage that you want to be looking at when you're building a list.
Yeah.
Consistent damage too. So you want to look at max damage, which is basically your attacks times your damage. And you want to look at likely damage, which is that value multiplied by, your hits, your
wounds. It's like divide. It's like
hits,
you take out the missed hits, take out the missed wounds, and then you basically have an average for each save characteristic, right? And you need the average for that save characteristic at 3 to be 30 plus or 35 plus.
Yep.
But that's how you put your whole army into something.
Or at least a realistic idea of I'm pumping a lot of damage into something. So it might not be your whole army. Don't do the math of every unit in your thing
is touching.
Is touching because it can't. You're going to have units other places scoring secondaries, but think about that. That is something that, and it's not going to be hard for a lot of units.
No.
Like brutes. You know what I mean? Brutes with a couple buffs in this new edition are going to be doing an absolute insane amount of damage.
Yep.
Especially with a wall, right? But that's something that I would encourage people to go through the War Scrolls, look at the max damage of the profile, look at the likely damage of the profile, and then start thinking about the hero buffs that go on top of that and how they can kind of start maximizing that stuff.
Yeah.
The next one that I would consider people should start looking through is like, what's the tankiest unit in your army?
You in know that book, I mean? Like in your book, how many? Like, or not your book, your index.
Yeah. Because I know for you it's the trolls.
Yeah, it's just trolls. They're just wounds that are really a pain to move and demand agency.
Yeah. The arguably, and since since bravery is no longer a thing in this game, right? 40 stabas. Hey, if like again, we're going back to that
40 wounds.
Max. Yeah, exactly. If we're going back to that max damage output. If you can't put 40 damage into the stabas, you're not going to kill them. Yeah. Regardless of how well you hit or what the rend is.
Yeah. Doesn't matter how big they are. Like, it's like, they at least have a wound. Like,
that was like one of the lessons that I learned when I was first learning 3rd edition. I was playing one of our good friends, and I sent a unit of Vindictors into one of their units. And I think it was like the battle tactic was like kill the general or something like that. And I was like, I'm going to do that with this. And she was like, don't do that. And I was like, why not? I'm going to do, I'm Stormcast. I'm heroes. I'm going to go fight you, you know what I mean, with my soldiers. And she was like, you literally cannot do that. Like, my guy has, I don't know, 12 or 14 health or something like that. Vindictors, even if you roll all 6s and I roll all 1s, cannot physically kill this model.
Yeah.
Because the, like, attacks times damage does not equal greater than my health.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I did the math. It's not good for you.
It's not good for you. You're not going to get it. Like, don't do that because you physically can't get it. So that's something to think about when you're thinking of damage and health is like, 40 wounds or like 40 health on a reinforced unit of stabas or zombies or anybody with a 20 is insane. Or
big deal.
Like, yeah. Because that's something that I'm looking for because Stormcast just don't have that, right? I'm looking for like Plague Bearers that have 2 health with a 5-up save. They come in units of 10, so they have 40. The 5-up save basically makes that, 60?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Plus, you can give them so many combos of -1 to hit, -1 to wound. There's an insane amount of defensibility you can throw on them from combos. So I'm definitely looking for that in an anvil unit. And I encourage people to go through and look and think of like, all right, what is my tankiest unit? How tanky can I push it with everything that I do it, and understand how to kind of set up an anvil and use that effectively.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because my stuff's more like it's like a really good anvil base, and then I can turn it into a hammer with buffs. You know what I mean? Like
you definitely, and I think like what's it called? I think a lot of people have realized that how tanky trolls are. You want them to charge into you, basically bounce off you, and then you're going to fight them, and then you're probably going to fight them again. Or they're going to run away, and then you're going to charge and get extra movement out of it, and you're going to fight them again. You're going to kill them over, like, 2 turns.
Yeah. I just fight better into them than they fight into me,
Exactly. And that's one of those things that after you look through your units, identify what they're there to do, how do you use them in your list effectively, and curtailing your list. The other one is going to be, so like we've covered hammers, how to look for anvils, how to look for chaff. And this is a little more complicated because I think you're going to be looking for a little bit of the tech out of that chaff, because I think anything can be chaff. What makes it an efficient chaff is basically how many health does it have, what's its save, what's its ward, what's that, which I call like a defensive profile, right? Health, save, ward. And how much does it cost? So imagine if the thing didn't have any attacks at all, what's the best value? How much health, save, and ward can I get out of like 100 points?
Does it come back? Is another thing.
Does it come back?
Like
exactly.
Recursion is a big thing for chaff.
Huge, especially since we've seen so many things like the Great Unclean One and the Moon, the Moonshine, and the Gnarholes and Stormcast. You know what I mean? With their command ability, like we've seen almost every faction have some kind of recursion. So definitely something to think about is like, how do I get those models back? It's because I feel like the game is going to be a lot of people playing with models that have already died.
Yeah.
So you might also want to be playing with models that have already died. Otherwise, you might be playing with half a list.
Yeah. Or like 2/3. Like everybody gets like half back. Yeah.
Yeah. So you're basically going to want to look at your chaff in the sense of, if I need to screen with this, can I? If I need them to run to a corner and score an objective and do nothing else for the game, can I like afford that list wise? And then if I don't need them for those two, are they giving me anything else? So that's when you start looking at those cheap like models like Rotmeyer Creed or Spider Riders. Exactly. It's like, how can I get 3 things out of this? And then depending on the matchup, depending on the game, I can choose what I want out of them.
Yeah, like choose them to just go die. Like, you're going to be in a terrible spot, but you're going to get me a point or a battle tactic on a turn.
Yep.
You did your job.
Exactly. Yeah. I brought birds to do that, which questionable, you know what I mean? Because in most games they fell, they got my battle tactic very easily. And if both of them died, I was only out 140 points, or only 70 points each. Mm-hmm. And if they lived, they were giving my long strikes +1 to hit. So, I mean, in my mind, that was a good trade. I think
it is a good trade.
Yeah. And finally, some traps that I think people should consider avoiding. So something that I think everyone is going to do, and I see people do this all the time, is they live in this perfect world where they got all of their combos off and they're hitting like a squishy target, you know?
Yeah. And they're like, oh, I could do 45 damage. And you're like,
exactly. You don't really do.
Yeah. Like, I mean, now everything can fight in 2 ranks, really, because of 3-inch range and everything. True. But like, you do have to basically assume, you at least have to do the math where you're dropping stuff for hitting and wounding, you know?
100%.
Like, at least.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, you don't want to be doing all of your calculations assuming that you got that spell off, or assuming that your enemy has the exact unit and or like all infantry and you're only fighting infantry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You also want to avoid, in my personal opinion, you want to avoid abilities and spells that are rolling to roll. And we talked a little bit about this.
Don't roll a 3-up.
Yeah. When we were on a phone. Yeah. There's a lot of abilities in this game that used to be guaranteed are now like on a 3-up. Like your Trog stuff.
Yeah. Again, my Trog stuff was really on a 3-up before. Mm-hmm. Like, because I was basically like, oh, if roar happens, this just doesn't happen. Which is all the time, because like everybody roars Trogs. But now I have to fuck up the roll.
That's true. Now I get that opportunity.
Yeah, now I have the opportunity to fail. I think it's also good for people's mental game to understand what to expect out of units. You know what I mean? Like, if your unit, like, I'm sorry for hitting my thing. Everybody's unit bounces. You know what I mean? There's times you're just going to bounce. And that's like, it's just because the dice, it's a dice game, it is what it is. You know what I mean? But you should understand that when you don't have like layers and layers and layers of debuffs, like, what is your normal output? You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, your normal output's like, oh, I can expect, like, your long strikes. You're like, I can expect 6 wounds out of this unit when they shoot. You know what I mean? Yep. That's like, I'm not, like, any more is great, any less is unfortunate, but I'm expecting 6. You know? And like, stuff like that is important because it also helps you make decisions where it's like, oh, I want to send in my Squig Herd, or I want to send in my Boingrot Bounders, or I want to send in my Blood Knights, but I really need to know how much output does my 5-man Blood Knight unit have? You know what I mean? Can I lift that screen comfortably and take that point? Am I going to kill enough that I can take that point and not take anything in return? You know what I mean? Because like, a lot of times those like Lance units are pretty fragile, you know? Yeah. So you're running in there doing a ton of damage, and then honestly most likely trading the unit away unless you're, you positioned well.
Yeah. Or you're like running to a side objective where they only have like a screen unit that's on a side objective and you get to hit them for free.
Yes, exactly. And like, that's exactly what they want to do. But it's important to understand what to expect because it feels bad. You're like, yeah. Especially when you bank a battle tactic on it and it just bounces off, like a lot of times, like that's where I've won and lost games is I just expect my Boingrots to lift something and I just don't roll well because they're hitting on 4s normally, Yeah. So
you definitely want to be in a world where you're killing your opponent in order to deny them the ability to score and use those things. You don't want to necessarily be living in the world where you're killing the thing because you have to kill the thing.
Yes.
In the sense of like you need to score it for battle tactics because there's a world where you roll all 1s and 2s and that's just the way it runs.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
It just is like that sometimes.
Yeah. Another trap that I think people should start avoiding or like start thinking of when they're making their list is how does your list function when it gets hit in the face?
Oh yeah.
Like how does your list deal with a turn 1 Iron Jaw wall?
Mm-hmm.
How does your list deal with getting shot? You know what I mean? How much do you lose when you start losing specific pieces of your list? This list that you've perfectly built around this one combo that, like, oh yeah, if I get my plus to, or like my Nurglings, right? I love the idea of like a 40 wound, 40 health Nurgling unit with a 5-up ward. What if my war gets turned off?
Yeah.
What if none of my abilities to minus hit, minus wound on them? Like,
Yeah.
What if it just gets lifted? Like, they could just be like, all right, bet. Like, I'll run into your anvil. I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, now that I have like no big screen or no middle point holding unit, how does my list function? Another one is resource allocation. So this is something that I think why I've struggled so much in third with my specific list was my dragons were there to do two things. They were supposed to do damage and they were supposed to run around the board. And in a lot of games, in a corn game at Cherokee, I think I lost specifically because my dragons were going to go kill something, and then I realized I needed them to get surround. If I didn't, if I pick surround, and they were the only thing that could get the surround, so they just had to go stand in a corner. And they ran and stand in a corner, and then a bloodthirster next turn like ran after them and killed them.
Yeah,
and it's just like, if you are putting a unit in a list to do damage, make it go do damage. If you're putting a unit in a list to score a point, have it score a point.
Yeah.
Also
understand when is a good time to go in, right? Because finest hour isn't a thing anymore, but there's a lot of times where it's like, okay, they have like layered buffs and I'm going to throw my layered buffs into them. But it's like, is it like, maybe it's better if I go do something else first or back up before going out. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I've run into I've run into Kragnos with finest hour and all out defense, and it sucks. Like
-2 to save,
-2 natural 2-up save, that 0-up save. It sucks every time. It sucks. Yeah. So it's just one of those things that, like, it's important to understand, like, not only what's my regular damage output, but it's like, is this important? Should I do this here? You know what I mean? Am I going to trade well? You know what I mean? Because you don't need to survive. You need to trade well.
100%.
Yeah.
That was like the other thing was just like, understand, like, do your things trade well? Like, Trogs obviously trade stupid well, especially consider that you can spend a command point and get a unit of free back.
Yeah.
Like, they're going to be tanky. They're going to remove the things that are trying to remove them, and they're going to come back. Like, that's just such a point efficient unit. And I think everybody in their army has point efficient units in one way or another. And your job is basically going to be reading these PDFs and trying to find those point efficient units that do the things that you want them to do. I know something that I'm going to be looking for is if you have any specific keywords that your army does. So like you said, with blood tide points, you're going to be looking for anything that in their war scroll gives blood tide points. I'm going to be looking for anything with Nurgle that gives disease, because honestly, like as it stands, if you pick no other units that give disease, only 5 targets in the game can get, or I guess since you pick it at the end of any hero phase, only 10 targets could potentially get
like disease.
Natural disease.
Yeah.
So we've already seen the Grand and Clean one has a spell that gives the disease keyword. Rotmire Creed, when shooting, they give the disease keyword. I believe the faction terrain features always going to
it's just stinky as hell
and going to give the disease keyword. You know what I mean? So you want to go through and like, all right, what are my things that give me that faction specific resource that I'm looking for? The moon is another one of the things. Like,
moon is huge. Like, Skagrad not giving moon anymore. Stonks go down.
Does anybody else, start looking through? Does anybody else give moon?
Does Trug do it?
Yeah. Maybe there's something that's troll specific or stabber specific that is going to give the essence of the moon for that thing.
Or you get to like pick one unit, like when you're out of the moon, you get to pick one unit outside of the moon and then you can make them have in the moon. Yeah, something like that.
The moon spotlight.
Yeah. The moon grenade.
So those are some things that as you're looking through these PDFs and as you're building your first couple lists, you're trying to think, all right, how does my list function as when it degrades? How does my list score battle tactics? How does my list remove the opponent's army so they don't just get a free, they always score their battle tactics?
Yeah.
How tanky is my unit, or how tanky is my list? How damagey is my list? Am I avoiding some of the traps where I'm in my mind being like, oh, of course I get my 8 to cast spell, that lets me roll the dice. And then if that dice is successful, it lets me look at a table and pick a thing. You know what I mean? Is there any other things when it comes to first time list construction out of the PDFs that you want to start looking through?
I mean, the biggest thing for me right now is I can't wait to see points. You know what I mean? Because there's been little leaks, little things here and there, and I'm just like, it doesn't if something
there's no complete picture.
Yeah, if it's not pointed well, you can't use it.
100%. We have not seen any leaks as of yet of points, which, like you said, is the big thing. It's going to determine if it's good or bad. You could have the best unit in the game, but if it's 2,000 points,
yeah, exactly. It's
who cares?
You can't take
You're never going to touch it. Yeah, so it's definitely going to be about those things, and it's going to be about looking at the units in your army that you previously had in the 3rd edition and seeing how they've changed, seeing if their role has changed, because I know unit role is a very big thing in this edition. Dragons, although they used to be kind of hammery, like Stormdrake Guard, they're much more techy now with their 2d6 charge after charge phase move, so it's going to be looking at those pieces that you have in your travel case or you have on your cabinet and understanding what those pieces do now.
Yeah.
Which is, I'm super excited for it. And thinking about if there's anything in your list that you're missing as far as all right, what missing pieces do I need? Or does this thing do a thing?
The tournament list that I've been running and the tournament list I took to ACO and Cherokee, I've been swapping things in out the whole time, and I swapped some things and I added 2 squads of Boingrot Bounders because Boingrots, I don't really have anything that goes out and touches something except for Scragrot's spell, which a lot of times I can't cast because it's I'm playing against, Giant Bird who does the mortals when
Mortal
they
wounds.
unbind. Yeah. Or Zinch or anything. You know what I mean? There's a lot of you just don't cast. A lot of death characters. There's you don't cast, I cast. You know? And it's not as reliable as you would think with a 3-up cast, So the Boingrots give me an option where I can teleport something. I can cast a spell on them they automatically reroll their charges. I can teleport them, send them over, and then run them into something. You know what I mean? And if they die, they die. I can get them back from the Loon Shrine the end of my turn,
Yeah.
But they gave... My Trogs aren't fast, and my Trogs don't project well. They play midboard well, Yep. Boingrots project well,
I don't know how many times you've denied my battle tactic of keeping... or my grand strat of keeping my lady alive, and Boingrot Bounders came over and touched it.
They just go, and they get the automatic reroll, and they get in.
And then they come back from the moon.
Yeah. So even if they again, I played against Jonathan, or my last game, and he was one of our teammates for the tournament. And I turned 1, teleported Boingrots in his backline, and I missed the charge. But I was like, it's okay. Yeah. I need him to die anyway. So if he sends something that way to kill them, it's good for me.
Yeah. It's definitely something to think about in considering the trading. I've had my opponent use Marathi, the big monster version, to chase after a unit of Vindictors because they needed to clean that up for
their grand.
Either grand or you know what I mean, killing all the battle line or whatever. Yeah. But that wasn't a turn where Marathi wasn't hitting something that was important.
Yeah. She's off at the corner and not
killing. She's off in the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something else to just think about when you're looking through those PDFs is just thinking of what's it called? All of those units in your list that you've looked over and you've never considered. I've never taken a Knight Vexilor with a Banner of Apotheosis, and I still might not. You know what I mean? But how have the points changed? How has that ability changed? Do all those little heroes that you get in bundle boxes?
Yeah.
Find those guys, find their profile and see what they do now, because they might do something that's actually useful.
Yeah, the abilities might be different, way different.
Yep. Yeah. I'm trying to think of what's some other stuff as we're looking through the PDFs. We're obviously going to read them all, just so we understand what everything does. And I think I would encourage the majority of people to, if you have time, read them all. Because if you're playing at any kind of competitive level, the worst feeling is when your opponent does something that you had no idea they could do. And with them giving us all the PDFs and with us living in index edition until the first books start coming out, we live in a world of perfect information.
Yeah, everything's simple too. Like there's not
exactly
like things are never going to be more simple than they are at launch. So it's a good time to jump in and like get learned. Read a book.
Read a book. Things are definitely going to change over time, especially as the battle tomes come out. But the vibe of the faction and the vibe of the units are pretty similar.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
and it gives you a good primer. You know what I mean? Like it gives you a good primer to get into like, oh, like even if the Khorne book comes out 2 weeks after launch, you know what I mean? Or whatever it is, then you're like, oh, well, I kind of know what 40% of this book is already. So it's easier to digest the other 60%, Yeah.
Definitely something that we saw from 40K was the launch thing that you get, like the launch battle traits and stuff like that. I usually just copy and paste it over, and they usually just add a little bit more.
Yeah.
So if you learn the stuff that happens in the index, you'll probably have a good understanding of at least a little bit of what's coming in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else? Do you have anything else that when you're looking through these PDFs or you're looking to build your first list and to go to your first tournament? What are you looking for?
I'm excited to see sub-factions is another thing I'm excited for, because I feel like that builds a lot into like what you have, and I don't think that like the sub-factions are going to be like, I don't think they're going to be like drastically different than what we have now. Because
everything that I've seen is just very not impactful.
Yeah.
When it comes to a sub-faction.
Yeah.
Which is good.
Or it's the same. Kind of like literally word for word the same. Yeah. But I think that like, I'm excited to see how they change the rules. You know what I mean? Because I think that like they did some in FAQs, they change how certain things interact, like the Achillean thing with the like instead of getting mortals, you get like exploding. Like it changes the math, and like I feel like we're gonna get like a better version of those FAQs, but like all at the same time. Or you'd hope that it's a better version, but. Yeah, I'm excited to see kind of like what strategies kind of bubble out from the new buffs and debuffs you get to put in your arsenal,
100%. I'm super excited. I'm definitely excited overall. Going to be looking at Nurgle stuff, going to be looking at Seraphon stuff, going to be looking
What do you think your first list is going to be?
Probably Nurgle. Just because that's the thing that I'm so hyped about right now.
New and hot.
I love it. I'm also like building and painting it right now, so it's very much like I'm in it.
Yeah.
I'm definitely gonna circle back around to Seraphon because I think like the first thing, the thing that I'm gonna be looking throughout the whole week is what is the army with the tankiest unit?
Yes.
Both with and without all the buffs. Raw. What's the thing that can take the biggest hit? And
Trogs.
I don't know. They only have what do they say? They have 30 health.
30
and
health.
40 with the 5-up, if you're assuming you roll perfectly average, right?
Yeah. 40 with the 5-up.
That's Stabas, though.
True, but then they also heal. And they get a 3-up save instead of a 5-up save in the moon.
It's true. Yeah, so I'm definitely, like, I think in contention of my tankiest unit thing, or my tankiest unit search. And if anyone find something that is like, this is the tankiest unit and I think this is it, let me know, post it in the comments.
Yeah,
I'm searching.
Yeah, comment down below. I want to see how thick we can make it. You know what I'm saying?
How thick are we getting here?
How many C's we getting in that unit?
I think the number one is Nurglings or Plague Bearers, because they're naturally 40.
Yeah,
they have a bad save, but they have a natural 5-up ward save, and then they have a lot of buffs to get minus to hit, minus to wound.
Yeah.
The next one is probably Saurus Warriors, because again, natural 40 health, probably going to be a 3-up save. It's a 4-up that goes to 3 if they're contesting an objective. So one dude just got to be touching it, and technically the unit is now contesting, 3-up save all around. They also have Astrolith Banner, so you could give them a 6-up ward, and I think that is the tankiest as far as health save ward, because we got 40 health, 3-up save, 6-up ward.
True, but I heal, Kyle.
It's true, but I mean, like, how many people are gonna, just one shot it with all their army doing 35 potential damage?
Maybe
it's possible.
It's possible.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm on the search for the Tankies unit because I just want to be thick. I just want to be thick and sit, which is why Nurgle
thick and sick. That's the name of your Nurgle list, is thick and sick.
I'm sickeningly thick.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. But yeah, so we're going to a event on Friday, July 12th. We're going to an event at the Wargamers Guild where they're having a midnight launch party. I bought a box. I also bought a spearhead because they have insane deals going on right now.
They do have insane deals going on
They have a website. We'll put it in the description. They're having some crazy deals. The deal that I did was you buy a Skaven box and you get a spearhead box for $35.
It's great.
And I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah, get it cheaper than that, brother.
Yeah, that's probably the cheapest thing, the cheapest spearhead you're going to find. So I took that advantage to build out my Nurgle army. They also have, if you buy a box, you get some free stuff out of it, between like some paints and stuff like that. And it only goes up from buying more boxes. They also have a bunch of stuff where it's like you play in the store and you get credit back, which is hype. And for 1 week until July 12th, they have 15% off, which is going to be
that's huge,
pretty sick. So I'm excited. We're going to get in there and we're going to start playing and getting some matches out and start understanding how this.
Come hang out with us on Friday. It's not this Friday, next Friday. Yep. Wargamers Guild Trenton. They do not sponsor, but we have very good relationship with the store.
Mm-hmm. It's a good time.
Yeah, it's the best.
All right. Is there any final notes that you want to say about the edition, the list building? This is going to be the last pod until the launch because I know I'm going on vacation and you're going on vacation and we're all hanging out.
Yep. We're going to have to do a, what's it called? We'll do a little, we'll send some pics or something like that. We'll maybe take a video from the store while we're there or something like that. We'll figure something out. But we'll see you guys at 4th.
100%. See you guys in 4th, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out. Let's have a good edition, boys.
Have a good edition.
Let's keep it real. All right. Talk to you guys later.
See ya.
See ya.